positive, like Foundations 5. Our expectations. What we.
Well,
I know
we haven't. Have we really? I mean, we have hinted on the two chaps that we've just met, but I don't think we've actually talked about them.
But the whole root of it was, and the book we've all been reading, Rees Howells, Intercessor.
Yeah, I can't remember if we mentioned this before. I don't think we have.
I am more excited about this conference than I have with any of the others.
Yeah.
If getting back to some of the things we spoke about earlier today, if we were operating in that way as Christians, at that level of faith, if the Steve Chalks or anyone else put their head above the parapet, they wouldn't last 2 seconds.
No.
They only last in this climate because of the liberalisation and the de-Christianisation, if there's such a word, of not just this country but the church.
Yeah.
Or what's called the church, the great.
There needs to be a definition of what is church, and to the person in the streets, and you ask them what is church, and they'll say Church of England, the Pope, and all that. But we wouldn't say that, because we look at what Justin Welby says and what the Anglican Church does, and that doesn't represent me.
They don't even represent the people they represent, because they, like all, I come out of Catholicism. I was brought up as a Catholic. They're at the top. They're political systems. When people have that much, property, wealth, people to deal with, it's like running an international organisation. You have to play politics, because it just shows they've got no faith in God, really.
Yeah. It's the same with all the ministries, let's say the TV ministries,
exactly,
particularly the worst one. They're not all.
That's
they're not
why
all bad,
coming to God as individuals is so important, and then yet being part of a body or the remnant church, as we like to think of ourselves.
So grab all that and then go back in history 100 years to this one man who had such an amazing relationship with God. You don't know this story about Rees Howells.
No, I've heard the name, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I read this book when I was a new believer, and I just couldn't believe it. So I just put it to the back of my head, because it just seemed like a fiction.
Was that part of the Welsh revival at that time?
He was before the Welsh revival, but he actually operated within the Welsh revival, sort of pastoring and preaching, etc. But it was what God did to him when he became a believer, in that God forced him basically to give everything up, like his ambition, his money, his family. Just about everything, and he did that by basically struggling with God. It was like such a deep relationship that he had. It was like praying all through the night, and he reached a position where God assured him that everything he prayed for, he would get 100% results, whether it's healing, salvations, money, everything. And the reason why is because everything he prayed for, God put in his heart, and God said, "I want you to pray for this." And when you reach a position of intercession on this subject, you don't need to pray anymore, because you'll get your answer 100%. And it always happens, isn't it? And he formed this Bible college. He bought the building. Interestingly, he was up against the Catholics. So the Catholics were trying to buy this building in Wales, and it was £6,000 or something, which is like $500,000 now. He had like 2 shillings and twopence, but he had the faith. God told him that the building would be his, so he didn't matter. He went into the solicitor's office and said, "Yeah, I'll have the money by the end of the day," and he did. I mean, and it was just those sort of miracles. The exact money that he needed came in, but the most amazing thing was when that college was built up, and there were like 120 people, were in that college. It was all through the 20s, 30s, the 40s, all through the Second World War, where they prayed through all the victories. All the things we know as the miracles of the Second World War came from that Bible college.
The Battle of Britain, Dunkirk.
Really?
Even from the signing of the Peace in Our Time, Chamberlain, the Munich thing. They were interceding right the way through.
And they knew about these things. I mean, and God, even because they were in Swansea, and it was one of the targets of the Luftwaffe, and they could hear bombs going all over. Well, God already told them that no bomb would touch them. So there was no fear as they were praying.
So they could carry on into sea and not have to go to their shelters and that.
And then even after, they were very pro-Israel, and they were praying through the votes in the United Nations, which we know was a little bit of a miracle. Well, that was part, but they were part of the battle. So these people, our 2 friends, one of them, his father was at the college,
Oh, right.
And the other one, Brian, he was at the college and he worked
the
with
son.
the son of Samuel
Yeah.
Rethel. So they are part of that tradition, and from our short conversations with them, this is what they're going to teach. This is what the exact principle that Rethel had is what they follow, and and he had some examples. David, if I can say them on there.
No, let's save them for David to say if you want to.
Yeah, okay, we'll save them. Yeah, but
that's from the mouth of
absolutely amazing miracles.
The second hand, yeah.
But just so that God led us to them through a strange situation of being in Peterborough, and we didn't know why we were there, and they were in Peterborough and they didn't know why they were there, and it's to meet each other, and since then they're definitely coming, and
that's on June the 2nd.
June the 2nd to the 6th of June this year.
And where is it?
Quinta, usual place.
Quinta.
Yeah, down to 20 more people we need. So we'll have to put this one out first. This talk, and Howard promises to be there. Well, that's all good stuff. So are you planning to do anything different on that? Looking forward to the conference, foundations. Are you going to do, in the worship times, will there be like we've had at the last two conferences, or have you got any other ideas, or just see what happens on the day? It depends.
Well, in terms of song preparation, it's going to be similar sort of songs plus a few others. But in terms of, it very, very much depends on what the Spirit of God is doing at the conference. My first main line is, if I do nothing else but get people worshipping Jesus, then I've been a success. That's what I want to do. I want to see people worship in spirit and truth. And over and above that, it depends what God is doing. It depends what we see, what the Spirit is leading, what's happening in the congregation. And I'd like to very much follow what God is doing. And as I said before, duck out of the way when He's moving. Because
you're going to be giving some teaching on one of the evenings, aren't you?
Yes.
Is that all to do with worship, or is it more to do with listening to the Spirit?
Gifts of the Spirit? Fired up about this. You better not start me on this.
Go on, fire away.
It's about our own personal revival in the Spirit, and that starts from holiness. It starts from surrender. It starts from confessing our sin and allowing God to be the centre of our lives. And from that place where God is truly and utterly at the centre of our lives and as an experience of our lives, and once He's at the centre, then we can start to move out and trust and be filled with the Spirit and have our lives completely changed upside down. So I don't think you can't separate out holiness, surrender, worship, Holy Spirit, power. All of those things are coming together. So that's what I'm fired up
it's
about.
Really very much the gist of what David's going to be teaching on that surrender, certainly, with the intercession and the way, the Reese Health and the holiness. So I think it's going to dovetail well with you and what he's going to do. So it's quite exciting then,
Going to hear the same message. I think they'll get the message by the end of the week.
So if you're out there and you haven't signed up for this is a very unsubtle advert. We could do it for another 20 people, can't we? At this moment in time. To break even, basically.
And the date is again
2nd of June. Are you coming, Howard, this time? I'll put him on the spot.
I don't think I can.
No,
but I'll try.
Go on. Because Howard is the veteran from the very first one. The whole Foundation's idea came out of a meeting around this table. You were there. I think it was Colin and Norman and Garby and Moira, and we just said, let's do it, and then we did it.
Let's make a show.
And we didn't know what we were going to do, any people there will know that because everything went wrong. But
it was good.
It was good. It was an interesting experience. Oh, Johnny was there as well, wasn't he? First one.
Oh yeah, I was there.
But so we'll look forward to Joe, who's going to be unleashed. We're going to sort of take away the safety wheels and just let her roam freely.
Come Jesus.
And we'll see. Okay, so Shall we stop there? Or